Hello and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy, episode 414 for the week of August 13th, 2019. My name is Ryan Higgins, who's here with me this week.
Brock Sager.
Kevin.
Scott.
And Charlie.
We got our studio audience, plus Toby's laying on the floor, whatever the fuck Toby does when he's not on the microphone. He'll be randomly jumping on
Looking at prints, looking at new comics.
When I say something bad about some dumb German show called Black he's watching right now.
Dark. Black.
I was waiting for it. I just wanted to hear it. So
at least he got the
Hey, your wife watches this dumb German show.
You know I'm making fun of you, Toby, right?
As he says.
I've heard Dark is really, really good.
I just can't read the subtitles. I'm sorry.
Oh.
You can't read?
Just listen, just put on
German
sub.
subtitles, no.
They don't have English subtitles?
Now we're confusing Brock.
Just be an old man and just watch it dubbed. Just watch it dubbed.
Oh, no. Charlie and I were talking about this beforehand. It's like watching a 70s kung fu movie.
Can't do it.
And that's like a separate genre altogether. If I'm going to watch dubbed, then it's got to be kung fu, slightly grainy, and sometime Saturday afternoon or so, Charlie? Would you say that stuff came on?
Yeah.
Or late night on, I don't know when it came on at night, but I felt like it was always Saturday. The Seven Deadly Venoms and all that good stuff.
I think see, now I'm getting really technical here, but I think on like regular television, it was like Saturday afternoon, but like cable television, USA and all those networks need something to show at 2 a.m.
So if you had insomnia, you watched most likely some 70s kung fu movies.
Now they're all on, crap. What's Rubber Rodriguez's channel?
Who?
Mundo?
No, it's some like deep SD.
No, El Rey.
El Rey, yeah. Deep SD cable.
Is Lucha Underground on El Rey?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
That's his show.
Didn't know that.
El Rey plays all those old kung fu movies.
His.
Well, Lucha Underground is small wrestling. They tape it all at once and then play it. Their season is so far, and I think they might have a live show at the end or so.
Nice.
Wrestling fans are probably going to go, that Scott guy, he got it all wrong. At least I knew it was on El Rey.
I have no idea what anybody's talking about right now.
Wrestling.
That makes for the best podcast.
Yeah.
And thanks for listening, everybody. See you next week.
See you next week.
We are going to talk about some comic books. We have sales charts. Because Marvel won both market and unit share, sales charts are out immediately. So we're going to talk about the July 2019 comic book sales charts. But there was a very interesting twist in sales charts this month because this was the first month of DC's differently priced variant covers, where they had the cardstock covers for all their villains. Year of the Villains comics, right? So a lot of these books were split from their total. So Deceased, Batman, Justice League, Catwoman, all those books, they normally all covers go into one ranking, right? They're now split.
Having deja vu, you must have listened to when they were doing the like holographic covers and
Doomsday Clock,
shiny covers.
Well, if you notice, Marvel, whenever they release something funky, always the same cover price because they don't want to lose that sales chart momentum. But DC's like, nope, it's the holographic or it's our foil cover. Nope, it's up $1.
Ryan will do the math for you,
sales
everybody.
charts. I don't need to do the math because Comichron.com has a nice fused list. So if we want...
I just want to preface this one by saying I hate Tom Taylor.
We can go... All right, that's nice. We can go...
I don't even know who Tom Taylor is.
It's the writer of Deceased, one of the best-selling book in DC right now.
I'm behind.
We can do this list with the top 10 fused or unfused. So if you strip out the variant covers that are higher priced DC, but we'll do it fused because that's the way it really is. But I'll also give you the unfused list as well at the end.
Give us the fused list, Ryan. Batman.
It is. There's a lot of Batman on this list. There's always a lot of Batman, but there's definitely a lot of Batman.
Last. Batman. Man Who.
Batman Who Laughs, number 7 at 88,000 copies. I have to see the number's a little off here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, yeah, so that's number 9. So Batman Who Laughs, number 7 is the number 9 book. Batman Curse of the White Knight, number 1 is the number 8 book at 91,205 copies. And Batman 75 is the number 7 book at 100,000 copies, 100,161 copies. Now, number 74 which falls just out of the top 10 now, is 78,000. So a lot of interest in issue 75 and the start of City of Bane.
Well, they also had the blank
big
cover.
oversized. Yeah, there was the regular cover and the blank cover. So a lot of interest in Batman 75, of course. Oh, sorry, how could I forget Batman Last Night on Earth #2, which is the number 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 book at 105,000 copies. Oh wait, no. Hey, wait, the fused list has numbering too. Hey, nice. I don't need to do this anymore. I can count without
God, this is great radio.
without counting. I can look at the number instead of counting. How about that?
Was Batman Universe on there?
Not in the top 10.
What month is this?
This is last month. Batman Universe. Batman Universe. Batman.
Deceased is number 3. That's why I hate
Batman
Tom
Universe
Taylor.
is the number 58 book. Fused is number 61. So those are all the Batman. The number 3 book on the Fused list is Deceased at 132,000
Tom tweeted
copies.
it out, and it was in my feed, and I accidentally saw it.
It's all right, Brock. You don't have to hate a man just because he
spoiled it.
tweeted his sales charts.
He spoiled it. Well, that also, I know what number 1 and 2 are, so...
Well, what are
Damn
number
it,
one
it's
and
ruined now.
Now,
Might as
what-
well go home.
What are number 1 and
I
number
ruined
2,
it for
Brock?
months.
Huh?
What are number 1 and number 2, if you know it?
House is number 1, Powers is number 2.
House of
Yeah,
X
no
number
kidding.
1. Oh,
Damn it!
legitimately, I'm really shocked at how low this number is. Like, I'm not even joking. 180
Low meaning copies sold?
Yes, 185,000 copies. That is fairly low. Black Cat sold, what, like 225 last month, number 1? Like,
It's all good, Ryan. You're going to sell 1 million when the Marvel 1000 comes out.
oh, that's right. And Powers of X number 1 is the number 2 book at 840 copies, 167,000 copies. Those are, I mean, obviously they're low because anyone paying attention to the comics the last couple of weeks, every store is sold out. Or not, but every store is sold out.
We are sold out of one.
I got a couple of House left. I got a nice stack of Powers and sell
What
as
did the
much
guy
as House.
come in that wanted it yesterday want?
We got him. He wanted 2, which we now have back in
We
stock
have
as
back in
well.
stock today.
Most of those copies
How
are
come we didn't
damaged,
tell him
but
to come back today.
we got
tomorrow?
them. So,
I
but
didn't know
they
it was
will
gonna be there.
they'll be gone tomorrow. So House of X
So
one.
if you listen to this in the morning, because I saw you downloading our app, I don't remember his name. Damn it, Brian. Maybe?
I could see 2 and 3. I could see 2's maybe dropping not out of the top 10, but low. I could see 4 or 5 like popping back up to 100,000 plus copies because I know I definitely increased my orders. I'm sure lots of stores did because yes, most places are sold out.
And it's actually good, unlike some of the other recent launches.
Yeah. So we're looking for the number 10 book. It's a Marvel comic. Actually, the only other 2 books
Spider-Man.
There's 2 Marvel books on this list, and they're both Spider-Man related. Number 10 is Black Cat number 2 at 83,000 copies, huge seller. And number 4 is Amazing Spider-Man 25 at 113,000 copies. Of course, Spider-Man 25 had like 15 variant covers, and it's an $8 book, so it's definitely one of the big books of the month. And final book. It's the last time this book's going to be on the list.
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead 193 at 111,000 copies, the number 5 book of the month. So
That was probably an easy list to get.
yeah,
Batman, Spider-Man people, X-Men,
Walking Dead.
Done.
Well, you're going
Back
to
to a
get
normal sales chart?
for at least the next couple months. It's going to be just House and Powers,
Batman.
Batman. It's just because those 2 books are going to have every single spot on the list. Now, of course, if you do unfuse this list, a few other books jump into the top 10.
Oh.
Let's see. Number
Absolute
9.
Carnage.
Number 9 becomes Immortal Hulk. Number 20 at 83,000 copies, and number 10 becomes Batman 74 at. Oh wait, what the fuck? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No,
He's
wait.
counting now.
All right, unfuse.
I know.
Unfuse. This won't let me unfuse.
Hashtag
Okay.
infuse.
Well,
Hashtag no voice
No,
command there.
Immortal Hulk 20 and Batman 74 would be the next 2 books. Those are the 9 and 10 if you unfuse Deceased and Batman out of those lists. So those would be the next 2.
Of the people that are sitting here, how many of you are reading Immortal Hulk?
I mean,
I'm probably
technically,
behind an issue or 2, but
Okay,
I've been
so that's
reading
2 out of 6.
5, 6, yeah.
every single one of those books. I asked on like the retailer forum. I think I talked about this a few weeks ago. And yeah, many stores are like, "Oh, Immortal Hulk is not only a top 10 book; it's like a number 1 Marvel book. It may be like a number 1, number 2 book in the store." We sell like 20 copies. I sell 5 to 10 times more copies every book on that top 10 chart. It's super weird. We sell it. Now it's definitely not a top 10 Marvel book because of House of Powers. But it's baffling how well that book does in certain areas. But yeah, now we just don't have the audience
for it. It's just
because
you don't love it enough. I mean, I feel like if you came on the podcast and you sat behind your little desk and you were like, Immortal Hulk is amazing.
Well, that's your job.
It's not my job. I don't work here.
You're on the podcast.
This is true.
Look, I get one or two books that I can sort of push a little bit harder than rest.
Sell me on it, people. Sell me on it.
Yeah, it's a horror comic featuring the Hulk. It's okay.
Charlie's like
here's the way I look at it. It's a fun book that I'm okay reading once. It's not the kind of book that I'm going to be like, oh, once a hardcover comes out, an omnibus comes out, I enjoy my one time reading it.
Yeah,
and it's a strong enough book that I like reading it to just sort of keep up with it, and then that's fine.
But Scott, I have only read the first issue, but you having admitted you don't like the Hulk.
I don't get.
So what would they have to say that would get you to go, oh, I want to pick that up?
So for a hot minute, I read when Jay Lee was drawing the Hulk.
Hey, for a hot minute, you should turn left and talk to your microphone.
For a hot minute.
Or move the microphone in front of your mouth.
I read Jay Lee's, kind of his run that was...
Jay Lee?
Jay Lee.
Yeah,
Jay Lee to the Hulk.
It's the 2000s.
2000, mid-2000s, maybe? Yeah. And it was...
I know the Bruce Jones Hulk was like... That was the Bruce Jones stuff. Did Jay Lee do those covers?
He did the Internals.
He did the Eternals?
Internal. Not the Eternals.
I don't remember Jay Lee doing that stuff. This is the Bruce Jones?
It was all scribbly and dark. Yeah, just like Jay Lee does everything. Scribbly and dark.
Or did Jay Lee do those Bruce Jones issues?
Am I not correct in this?
Brock is looking it up.
Yeah.
Keep vamping.
Keep vamping.
So as we went through, I mean, it was like a horror-based Hulk book.
Yeah, that's the Bruce Jones
I read
stuff.
it for maybe
it was good.
4 issues, and then it just got lost.
Are you talking about the thing?
No.
The thing myth?
No, I think he's talking about the Bruce Jones run of the Hulk, but it wasn't Jay Lee doing the art on it. But I could.
He's probably talking about the Hulk thing that Jay Lee drew.
Nope. False.
So that's some good selling books. Better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books selling over 100,000 copies on the top 10 charts. But comics are dying, whatever.
Yeah, well, it's the wheeze of a dying industry.
It's
so
all
just
over.
grab your coins now.
Overall, units sold, every single thing Diamond Comics sold to North American comic book stores. 45.49% of it was from Marvel, 27.63% from DC, 8.64% from Image. Just shy of 4% for IDW, and down the list we go with
Ryan,
Dark Horse, Dynamite, and Boom.
Will you still read sales charts when Warner Brothers shuts down DC?
It'll be very different sales charts.
The Liefeld prophecy.
When AT&T shuts them down?
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Dollar share Marvel drops a little bit, 41.38%. DC 26.79%. So DC, what cut in there? Oh, who ate? IDW and Dark Horse pick up a couple bucks on the dollar share. That's pretty interesting. In the top 300,
Vampirella?
What's that?
Vampirella, didn't they have something?
Vampirella is like the number 13 book. That's Dynamite. Dynamite got a huge boost from Vampirella number 1. Yeah, big boost. It sold okay for us. I ordered a shitload and it didn't sell. It didn't sell nearly as much as I wanted it to, but it still sold well. Items in the top 300, Marvel with 106, which is pretty average. Well, it's actually maybe a little low from the last few months. DC with 85. So finally we've seen...
Are we talking fused or unfused?
That's a good question. That I guess that DC 85 would be the fused list. So yeah, you're probably right. That probably is down to 50-something. Because probably mid 60s, because there was about 22 covers. Right. So I didn't even think about that. You're probably correct. In the top 300, Marvel at 50.13% of single issue comic books. Over the 50% mark went to Marvel It's the top 300 comics sold. That is redonkulous. Marvel is just putting out a ridiculous amount of stuff.
I feel like just to get over
that are
50,
selling, right?
They just shoved out a book on the 31st somehow.
50.13.
They just shat something extra out on the 5th week.
What are we at? 49.999. Can we throw something out there today? Sure.
DC with 30.41.
Oh, just throw a true believer. Slap $1 on that piece of shit and let's call it a day.
Image was 7.75%, and God, Walking Dead probably is like a whole percentage point of the units sold in the top 300 this month. Crazy sales. And yeah, Marvel's even higher than that when it comes to dollar. When we go overall, let's go. Where's my big? Oh wait, there it is. I lost my big full list. Top 300 comics and trade paperbacks, of course. 48% to Marvel, 29.9% to DC, 7.96
What's leading the way in
to
trades
Image.
these days?
Oh, well, let's do a top 10 trade list. I haven't done this in quite some time. Here's a question: What is the number 5? What is the 500th book in that was shipped via Diamond Comics?
You have to give a hint. Come
Is
on.
it Marvel?
It's a reorder. It's a major company. It's not Marvel or DC, but it is a bigger company.
Oblivion Song reorder.
It is a character you all know. Probably only Charlie has watched, but you all know the character. It is at issue number 1.
The Tick.
It was
But
very
you know that
very
I watched
popular in the 90s. Has recently
not the Tick?
switched publishers
Usagi?
due to the Disney Fox merger.
The part that's throwing me off is the only Charlie has watched.
I don't think the rest of you watched it. I could be wrong. I don't think the rest of you watched it.
Well, then Charlie.
I'm
should
almost
be able to
positive
get
Charlie
this.
watched it. I'm pretty sure Toby watched it too.
Toby's not even paying attention.
What?
Huh? I heard my
Comes from
name.
But
Boom,
you've
comes from
stumped-
Boom Studios.
You've stumped Charlie.
You played Stump the Charlie, and you stumped Charlie. Congratulations. Give us the answer.
Had a very long run at Dark Horse.
Are you talking Buffy?
Angel number 1. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Angel.
I watched Angel.
Did you watch Buffy and Angel?
Yeah.
Okay.
I watched Buffy,
Did
not
you watch
Angel.
Angel? Okay.
I watched a little of Angel.
I watched like a minute of Buffy.
There you go.
Buffy was
Maybe
solid.
a second of Angel.
I have the DVD box set of
Top 10 graphic novels sold to comic book stores. Number 10 is Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky, Volume 1, at 2,683 copies.
really.
Number 9 is Die 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 Volume 1 that's Robert Kirkman's book, 2792. Number 8 is Miles Morales Volume 1, straight out of Brooklyn, at 2,965 copies. Number 7 is Conan the Barbarian Volume 1, Life and Death of Conan, at 3,142 copies. That's the Marvel stuff. Number 6 is Dear Justice League at 3,323
What's that
copies. That's the all ages Justice League book.
Fair enough.
But they're one of the ones they've been doing.
Did we get a restock of that yet?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I know a lot of people.
Either that
were
or it's
looking for
coming. Number 5 is Adventure Zone Volume 2, which is a big. I don't remember the name of the company. I don't remember the people. I don't know it, but Adventure Zone's a big web thing. 3,387
My kids like it.
copies. Yeah,
It's a big web thing.
which we're way too old to watch to know Adventure Zone. The thing is, these sell tens of thousands from book distributors. You can see how little, a lot of people have moved their graphic novel buying out of Diamond because Diamond they ship slow and they charge for shipping. I can get, Marvel and DC and the big stuff, I get a better discount through Diamond, but a lot of the little stuff, I've started moving over to the other vendors just because we can get them faster. Number 4 is They Call Us Enemy, which is
George Takei.
George Takei's autobiographical comic of when he was in the internment camps. Very topical. Number 3 is Deadly Class Volume 8. I no longer order Deadly Class graphic novels. We didn't sell the last 2 volumes, so I just stopped
Really?
ordering them. Yeah. Number 2 is
stopped
Bad
getting them.
Weekend, which is the Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips original graphic novel based around criminal. And we ordered 20 copies of that, and I have 2 left. They come with the original signed booklet and everything. It's fantastic. And number 1 is the Joker Black Label reprint of the Azzarello Lee Bermejo Joker Black Label.
Not Lieber?
Sorry, the Joker.
That guy Lieber is good.
The Joker graphic novel that is now
Mayo.
considered part of Black Label.
Mr. Mayo is
It's- yes.
one of my favorites.
Lieber Mayo.
7,117 copies. So there you go. there you go. Those are some comic books sold in
Lieber Mayo.
July.
So, Ryan, if you just had said the Brian Azzarello Joker and moved on, you could have saved all of this.
I'd like to see next month and see if the boys hits the top 10 for August.
Oh well, I'm sure I could see reorders. Yeah, because it's probably on there somewhere for July. But yeah, I'm sure they started going up.
Because the boys is
It was really good.
fantastic.
Yeah,
It's really good.
Apparently, it's the top.
While we're vamping, Woo Assassins is also very good on Netflix.
Woo Assassins.
Toby, how do you like Woo Assassins so far? Not so much.
Well, the action is great.
The dialogue maybe not so good. If you really want dialogue, this might not be the program for you. But the action's good.
Woo Assassin.
Woo.
I haven't heard of this.
W-U Assassins.
Cool.
So you obviously haven't been on Netflix lately because it's like the first thing you see when you go on Netflix right now.
Oh, yeah.
Pops in your face.
Interesting story. Good action. Pretty
Bad dialogue.
I would put the dialogue close to. I walked in and
Grading the dialogue now.
yeah, well, it's like that of a Hallmark movie. Worse than a Hallmark movie? Really? I thought it was worse than Iron Fist.
So
I'm talking to Toby.
So I'm glad we're talking about this bad thing that's worse than Iron Fist, but has
But
great action.
you want to know a
action,
bad thing
fun
that's worse
story.
than Iron Fist? That's Loot Crate. You want to know what happened to Loot Crate? Loot Crate went fucking bankrupt.
What I laughed about when I read the title of this article,
Yeah.
I chuckled because it says Loot Crate lays off dozens.
Yeah.
And there's like
dozens?
there's like 20 employees.
I mean, I am sad for the people that worked for Loot Crate that have lost their job.
Right,
Obviously,
that
that
sucks.
sucks. I am not sad
But
that Loot Crate
dozens.
has now filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy and has laid off 50. I mean, I'm sad, of course.
They mail you a box of crap
Laid off 50
every
employees.
month.
And the thing is like they were doing good. I canceled probably a year or two ago now.
They
But,
send
like-
you a box of crap every month.
Every month.
According to the LA Times, its credit card processor is withholding customer billings, meaning they're not getting any money from the, right, because they can't pay the credit card processor. They haven't shipped goods tied to $20 million in sales.
Oh, jeez.
The company owes more than $30 million in trade debt, and they owe more than $5.87 million in sales tax.
Woof.
What? When I'm asked every single time, what is my number one rule of opening a comic book store? Doesn't matter if it's a comic book store or what it is. Don't fucking mess around with your sales tax. Pay your goddamn taxes. Number one rule.
Pay your taxes.
So yeah, bye Loot Crate. Someone's gonna buy them. I don't know. Maybe GameStop will buy them before they
Amazon
before
will pick them up and just start sending you a box of random overstock shit that they got in their warehouse.
it is. I mean, it's
sell it for, just give it for free.
honest. Every time it would come, I would be excited to get it, and then couldn't wait to get rid of everything that it came.
We had
Now, what can I do with this?
About the time that I canceled, there was like shirts that had come that were like, this is a double X. And I hold the thing up and I'm like, no fucking way is this a double X. I gave like the last handful of shirts to my son to wear as PJ tops because they were not the right size.
Because they couldn't afford to get those double X's.
Yeah, I was like, no, it was a mess up in whatever production.
No. The double X's cost more. There's more fabric, and they couldn't afford it. So they were
just
giving you
slapped a
mediums.
double X on the medium. We got
you
extra
mediums.
medium. Slap a double X on there.
We can pay for the tag, but not the shirt.
We are going to do some questions, and we're going to have a deep dive into House of X number 2. We got a lot of stuff to talk about here, but before
There
we
was
do
a question about questions.
there's all yeah. I
And
mean,
the question in Event Leviathan.
we'll do a bunch of questions kind of in the middle, because we'll have a big discussion about House of X. But the final actually kind of like news thing I want to talk about this week is Superman number 14 and Supergirl number 33. Scott, and you were asking, you wanted to know what was going on here.
I wanted to know because let's talk about comics with Cam was like this is and there's a lot of guys that will go store to store and looking for stuff that is hot and new, and I was like, why does this matter? I don't really want to read it. So I asked Ryan, are we going to talk about it? And he said yes. So now
We're going to talk about.
So some spec groups have already been talking about this publicly because people leaked this from the retailer forum. I don't know what we were really allowed to say, but I mean, when all this stuff is kind of leaked.
Hey, leakers from the retailer forum, stop doing that
stop
shit.
Leaking shit from the retailer forum. So here's what happened. Over the weekend, got an email from DC. I believe it was...
Who the fuck is Anthony?
I believe it was Friday, yeah. I believe it was Friday. That was a fun time when we were there, Brock.
Right?
I just wanted to hear Kevin's reply. I was just waiting for his...
sorry, I gave you a silent one.
I was just trying to do
Was
an
it still
audio,
satisfying?
I was just doing an audio
It's
meme.
very good.
Okay, I was trying to do an audio meme.
Okay,
all right?
okay. An audio meme.
Fuck off.
Over the weekend, got an email from DC while I was in Disneyland celebrating the Haunted Mansion's 50th anniversary. You can hear me talk about
Way to go, adult child.
all of that on the Geek Box last night.
You went cosplay for that.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
What did
it
you
was
go
fun.
as?
We went as two of the changing portraits that are in the hallway of the Haunted Mansion. So we were in half-changed mode.
And what was your name?
My name?
Well, no, your name is Ryan Higgins. Ryan, we know that.
Oh.
But what's the portrait's name? Do you know? Does he have a name?
So Leanne went at, I don't know the woman's name. But she's a woman, and when the light flashes, she turns into Medusa. Right? I believe the man in the room is Gracie, the mansion, like the guy that owns the mansion. And I'm not mistaken, he's the one that hangs himself at the very beginning. Of the ride.
Spoiler for
Yeah.
Haunted Mansion ride.
Wow,
Yeah.
Ryan. Spoiling it for everybody again.
So
It's 50
it was the
years,
first part of the
hasn't
ride.
changed.
First part of the ride. So we get this email that says, "Hey, Superman 14 and Supergirl number 33 that were supposed to ship this week have been recalled. Please destroy the copies. Do not sell them. They're being recalled.
Contraband.
We're getting new copies." The reasoning is because these books, there was a retailer event video this morning from Dan Didio on the retailer Facebook page where he kind of gave us a little bit more info. But basically, what they said was that these covers were marked as Year of the Villain tie-ins, and they're not. Now, normally, for most companies, I think they would just say, like, whatever, right? Like, oh, we fucked up, man, who cares? But Dan had a really good point. He's like, look, we're making a really good push with Year of the Villain. He said into November and December, there's going to be some big books happening around this stuff, For people coming back, picking up the tie-ins they missed or the lead-up stuff, we don't want to give them the, we don't want them picking up the wrong books. This is about, trying to actually take this mistake that we made and own up to it and.
So how many trolls out there are
They're
gonna
trying not to Red Sky it.
take these on the sly? And
Well, so here's the funny thing. So of course, copies are on eBay all over the place, right? Copies, all four. So there's two covers. There's the main cover and the variant for each issue. Full sets are selling for $150, $200 for a full set of all four covers right now, right? How many copies are actually out there? How many copies are going to
I
be
would love
put
for
up?
them
Who
just to
knows?
go, forget it, just give them away.
Well, here we go. So here's the funny part, right? So they said, if your books are coming in your shipments, you got billed for them, right? If they're not in your shipments, you did not get billed for them. DC, I don't think, knows how Diamond invoices. Our invoice is made up of stuff that's supposed to be on there, and then they adjust it. They didn't adjust the Superman or Supergirl for anyone. I believe, I could be wrong, but I've yet to hear from a store who has not been invoiced. However, I've heard from many stores that were invoiced but did not get any copies. So what that means is all of these guys that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday put up copies for sale on eBay. Guess what? You're probably not getting copies in your shipment today. So all those copies that sold, they probably aren't going to be filled. So all the speculators that drop money, again, more than likely, a lot of those. Because Diamond, once they were told, they pulled the books and no one else got them. But the invoices had already been printed with what's supposed to be on their invoices. So it's billed to a lot of accounts, probably every account.
So did you get them?
No, we did not get them. So, again, for all these stores out there that said, yep, well, we're going to sell our copies. Well, if you're stupid enough to sell your copy on your store account, DC and Diamond can see that. This isn't, there's been times where comics have come out and they said, hey, it's a mistake. You're going to get reprints. Usagi Yojimbo #2, I believe, that just came out. There was some weird printing, and they're like, we're just going to send you replacement copies for everything. Do whatever you want with them. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
Valiant
Right?
had that with like one of their books.
Valiant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like I can't remember which one.
There was a printing error, and they reprinted them. I know Spawn a couple months ago, there was supposed to be a black and white version, and it came like half color, half black and white. And Todd McFarlane sent out their image and email that was like, keep the misprint copies, throw them in the trash, sell them on eBay, give them the customers, do whatever you want with them. We're sending you replacement copies, right? DC specifically said, please destroy the copies. Like, please destroy is a really nice way of saying you have to destroy the copies, right? Now, what can they do? I don't know. Will they do anything? I don't know. But for all those stores out there that just screwed over all those customers or all those speculators, I don't feel bad for anyone, really. Those stores could potentially get in trouble.
So where did the copies come from if they didn't come to you and you got invoiced? So who's selling these?
Random people in random stores put them on eBay, put them on,
so they were invoiced
Craigslist,
and they got them.
They were invoiced, and they were pre-selling them before they confirmed that they got them.
Yeah.
We get our invoice on Wednesday. We receive the product Monday or Tuesday, depending on what type of store you are,
And
right?
most of the time, the product's packed and shipped out Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, so like our shipment goes out like Wednesday night, Thursday morning, and we get our FedEx freight numbers and all that stuff, right? So there are some stores that was invoiced for them, got them, sold them on eBay for hundreds of dollars. There are some stores that invoiced and sold them and aren't getting shit.
Oh, so they're not getting them. So they won't.
Period.
They've sold them.
Yes.
At stock image.
Yes, and will not be getting copies. So, oops. Good luck, guys. Hope you didn't spend that money already. And to me, it's just really scummy, right? I mean, it's so rare that something like this happens where they ask you to pull the books.
There's somebody out there going, dude, I already ordered these. They're coming. They're already in the mail.
No.
And
that cancellation.
And they're going to get an email tomorrow. Like
hundreds of people got emails today and tomorrow night canceling those orders. There's just no way, right? I mean, because again, most stores did not get them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if stores didn't get them, they're supposed to destroy them. We're supposed to request credit back from Diamond for freight, and DC is going to be looking at those stores that are selling online, and they're paying attention, and they're paying attention to who has said they're not selling them, and paid attention to the stores that are returning them, right? So or destroying them. So to me,
they didn't want to do strip covers.
No. They said in the retailer talk, they're like, look, it's on our system. We trust you guys. We trust some of you guys. Don't.
Because the easiest way to do it would have been just a strip cover.
Sure, right, of course.
So whatever you're invoiced, if you got them, you needed to ship back the exact amount.
Right. But even that,
it's a lot of work.
I know.
Well, it's not just a lot of work. It's Diamond does not always ship the right amount. That's the problem, right? So I've pulled like one copy. I'm like, I was supposed to get 100, got one. All right, Diamond, thank you. So
Whoops.
And if you're selling under your personal account, well, if you live in bumfuck Texas, it's probably only one store in bumfuck Texas, and they see where the seller is. They can probably have a good idea of where that book's coming. Even if it's from a customer, you're not supposed to sell it or give it to those customers either. So, yeah. I know some retailers listen. Hopefully, is those a couple $100 worth pissing off your potentially biggest or second biggest vendor? I would think not. DC does a lot of stuff for the industry, and I would say just do what they asked this time, and that's that. So when they start popping up at conventions next weekend, yeah.
What? It's Silicon Valley?
Oh, I'm sure. I guarantee you there'll be some there. Gonna hit some questions, and then
Rapid fire.
What time we got? Oh, we got plenty of time. It's only 34 minutes in. We'll do some questions. Maybe we get a big House of X number 2 talk in the back, because I know we all got some questions.
Are we doing questions or asking questions? What's up?
I'm asking questions. Well, I got a few. Tim, I see your question here on Patreon. We are already going to answer that because we're talking about House of X. So we'll get to your question when we get. And And Verum Libertas, we are also going to get to your question when we talk about House of X. As you can guess, lots of questions this week. Here's one from Anirban Banerjee, one of our longtime supporters. He says, way too late with my question last week, so here it goes again. As someone who has never had the opportunity to get into older comics, are the DC Bronze Age books worth getting into? I know Gold and Silver comics may be a little different, but that's the same with Bronze Age as well. I could get a couple of on the bus at a decent price, so debating on taking the plunge. What a great question, considering the very first epic collection, quote-unquote, from DC comes out this week, the Bronze Age Justice League run. Kevin, you want to handle this one? This is all up your alley.
Well, so the question is it worth getting? And worth is such a tricky
It's
word.
subjective.
Oh, we got two Bronze Age collections this week. Yeah, the Joker omnibus, too.
That's going to be my
Yep.
pick of the week at the end of the episode. Don't
nice.
step on it.
Nice.
It is right now. You just made it.
No, I'm going to go into detail, though.
Here comes.
But you didn't buy it.
I'm going to get
Well,
it.
you technically you can't buy it yet, but tomorrow you can buy it just because some
Can I
large
still
person,
make it my pick of the week?
Yes.
some large person bought it though.
There's still one up
Tomorrow.
there?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, okay.
There's still a copy up there.
Oh, there is. Oh shit.
So coming back,
I will buy tomorrow.
coming to the person's question.
Yes.
I'm always an advocate of rent before you buy.
Yeah.
Like with movies, with anything. Like if you can rent it, why would you blind buy? So I would tell this person, if you have DC Universe, you can check out a lot of Bronze Age comics on
Yep.
there
Yep.
for free. Well, free
Well,
meaning it's part of the membership.
Yeah.
The thing is that there's some classic storylines, classic versions of the characters, great art.
A lot of good Batman stuff. At
But
that
the
point.
comics are written so differently than modern comics, and a lot of people
It's getting close, though. More than the Golden and Silver Age stuff. especially
Oh yeah, yeah,
DC.
yeah. It's definitely like on the evolutionary scale. It's the hunched over ape right before the man versus like the
Yeah. And Marvel at this point was full horror, fantasy, Conan,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
Star Wars, all
martial
their-
arts,
Yeah,
monsters.
They were trying everything.
Yeah.
It was like their
everything.
second. It was kind of like their.
That's Marvel's
like
motto is throw a dart.
That's like
throw a
third
dart.
generation Marvel. Like that's not Stan and Jack. That's not like the replacement guys. That's like the Stan had stepped down from.
So
every
the question
book
is about DC.
but DC specific.
So if
yeah,
I would say the Steve Englehart, Marshall Rogers Batman run
Straight to Batman.
is completely solid and still holds up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's not in an omnibus though. That's in some
they have those hardcovers.
a smaller hardcover.
Yeah.
Definitely that. I just don't know what the titles are because they keep change every time it comes out. It used to be
is that Caped Crusader?
it was
Is that
Strange
what they-
Apparitions,
Oh,
the original issue.
Maybe that's what they're
Then they
called.
started a new series of hardcovers, the Caped Crusader.
Yeah,
but
that's
I don't
it,
know
right?
what's in those.
I think it's that whole. I think it's their whole run or his.
But I mean,
Marshall
Caped
Rogers.
Crusader is an ongoing series of hardcovers.
Right. I'll have to take a look.
Anyway, if you can find it by the credits.
Again, it's not up to the standard of today or even 20 years ago, but we're getting that Bronze Age JLA is where I really start to get into those characters because they start to expand the audience or the team past the original
Yep.
members.
It's the
And-
satellite era.
yeah, that's
And it especially gets good
That's
when
my
it's
JLA.
Steve Englehart writing it. Is
And all
when
the-
it gets really good.
those JLA JSA crossovers really start expanding
Yep.
just the entire world that these characters exist in. But you also have Swamp Thing. You have all the Len
yeah,
Swamp
the
Things in
Bronze
there.
Age Swamp Thing is really good.
Fantastic.
That's worth checking out.
They just reprinted the Golden Age, or sorry, the Bronze Age Doom Patrol. Although that Bronze Age goes a little further into modern than I
And
would
that's this
count,
weird
but-
Doom Patrol period where it's not the original and it's not the Morrison.
Yeah,
it's kind of like this odd.
right in between, but it's interesting because it's there. And the Joker book this
it's
week,
interesting because it's
because that's just never been reprinted.
Oh yeah, it's never been reprinted.
No, but the Joker one this week is the money book
Yeah.
right here. This is the big one. It reprints a lot of that classic Joker stuff from the 70s, some of those Neil Adams issues, plus the Joker series that he
Yep.
had his own solo series, including the never before published issue. I believe it's 10, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that was the DC implosion. I believe this
that's
was
the late 70s. Yeah,
DC had the DC explosion in the mid 70s, late 70s, where they expanded their line crazy and had all these new books. And they immediately tanked,
Yep.
and they cut the entire line back to nothing. And a lot of books didn't finish. Firestorm, famously one of my favorites, they published a lot of these under the canceled comic Cavalcade, which really it was like a fanzine thing almost. That was thrown around. Most of it was black and white, but some of those issues have now been published officially. And this is the very first time that issue of the Joker, the final issue, is published.
This Joker omnibus has a great selection of artists represented.
It's all 70s stuff.
It's all 70s. You get like a good collection of Batman issues, and then all of the Joker's solo run.
And some Brave and the Bold in there, and a Wonder Woman issue in there.
I think that's probably every Joker appearance from, what is it, 251? Is that that's when he returns post the 60s Batman, right? Is
the
that
Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams issue? It's the famous cover where he's holding Batman on a playing card, a giant Joker.
Yeah, this was the first time. Again, I've obviously I was not alive at the time, but from what I've read,
yeah, you're right.
It was the first time the Joker had appeared post the 60s TV show. And they were like, we need to get Batman back to what he, just darker character. We got to get the show out of here.
If listeners can imagine a time when there was no Joker appearing in anything for years.
Years, yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Right?
Yeah.
But the last thing I would say to this person's question is, if you want to, like, the Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams, Green Lantern, Green Arrow.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, that one's really
now, that's dated because a lot of the things that a lot of the language and the...
some of the concepts.
But I'm saying it's very much
today.
of its time, though.
But
they
no matter what you
racism,
read,
so
it's going to...
But I mean, there's some things that are more general superhero adventure. And this is very much social issue, a snapshot of that time period. But my point is, I'm not saying don't read it. I'm saying if you want something that's not just a fun comics adventure, but like a snapshot of early 70s America
the 70s.
And these social issues beyond superhero stories, that's worth checking out as well.
Yeah. So one of the things I love about this particular, and I mean this also applies to the Golden and Silver Age and that kind of stuff, is occasionally I kind of have to remind myself that you don't really have 6-issue long built for trade stories. Like I love the fact that this Joker omnibus is, I think I count 41 issues, and that means I'm getting probably a good 40 stories.
Yeah.
It's a huge.
It's just because at the newsstand time, when distribution was so different, you might get Joker number 1, and then you wouldn't see that series again until number 4. So you can't have a continued story.
Yeah. But, I mean, for me, that's one of the things that I like about going back to the older comics, for those who are wondering if it's worth going back, is they were forced to tell more sort of compact, single or maybe 2-issue stories. And even things like the Dark Phoenix saga and that kind of stuff were a bunch of individual stories that had a common thread going through them because they had to work as sort of a standalone issue while still bettering the overall story arc.
Right. We have 2 last questions. One from Craig P. Anderson, who's over at CraigPAnderson.com, if you want to go check out his site. What are your thoughts on Scott Snyder's Justice League run? I'm enjoying it, but there was so much going on, I feel like I'm going to have to reread it at the end. And then what's the deal with the Jarro and Batman hug? Snyder's Justice League run is bananas. Mm-hmm. It is a lot to take in. I'm not saying this in a negative way. It's just a very multiverse. From creation to destruction of the universe story. This is like Crisis on Infinite Earths as an ongoing comic, right? It is a big book.
Here's the way I kind of look at it, and maybe this is just when I was trying to keep up with it, like issue to issue, I wasn't enjoying it quite as much as I was when it's like, okay, now there's like 5 issues I'm behind on. I'm going to read these 5 issues, and it reads much better in larger chunks.
Yeah, it is a big story. I definitely I know we're going to the Year of the Villain, which is going to be the big. We're in the Year of the Villain, and it's going to be the big story, but we're just at the starting part of it now, so we don't know Lex's big plan. For those that haven't been following, the light spoilers, Lex Luthor has basically captured the being that created the DC universe, and in theory, all multiverse, the entire all of existence, and he's sort of like, well, I can, I'm beyond just being Lex Luthor. I need to ascend even higher, and he blows himself up. He kills himself to become this like almost a new god. Right? No pun intended. And so now the Justice League with the Monitor, Anti-Monitor, and the Forger of Worlds are basically like, how can we fix this? Like, we have to stop, all of reality from ceasing to exist because we've cracked the source wall, which is the thing holding back like the primeval forces of nature, and now everything's all fucked up. This is like a major event that's like, it's just a monthly comic book. Yeah, it's a normal story.
I would really love in the middle of this run a breather issue, just like a JLA hanging out one day. So, you know what I mean? Or like the Atom on monitor duty back on Earth. It's just like every issue is just bigger than the last one.
It's
and I'm not complaining, but I'm just like, it's like hitting the same set of keys on the piano over and over. I just want one little breather.
To a degree, I feel like a lot of the Legion of Doom issues are my breather issues.
Oh, the
like the one
is that
where the Joker
Tinian writes those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, those are kind of my breather.
Weeks, or do they come every?
It's every hand. It's like in between every arc.
Yeah,
You're good.
Right.
Yeah, you're on. Yeah. He's kind of like the fill-in issue.
but those are my breathers.
Yeah.
We are supposed to hear fairly soon because I believe November, December is like the thing, the start of the event. So we should know pretty soon what's going on, where this is leading.
I mean, the source wall has been breaking and doing all sorts of stuff for about 3 years now.
Well, it was
4 years.
It was when Justice League started. We're coming up on what are we on, issue 20 something, so a year and change because of the double shipping.
I feel like there was stuff going on with the source wall before Justice League also.
Well,
I mean, the source wall has always
Didn't it
come
break?
up from time to time.
that was in
no,
No
it's
Justice.
Like, the source wall should be not coming. It should not be in the forefront for years.
Yeah.
At least I don't think so.
But no Justice was the big sort of event involving the source wall.
I think
Right.
the last time they dealt with that was during the Green Lantern run, where
the New Gods Green Lantern. Yeah.
where
Well, so there
that
was
big
that,
alien
and then
guy
there
like
was
came
the-
through it.
Right, it was that, then No Justice, now Justice League. It's just all this big long line of the source wall, and you're like,
Well, they broke
Enough.
the wall broke, and it did all this stuff, and
Right.
the characters are dealing with it in different ways. Like the Speed Force in Flash now there's all these other forces that have come from beyond the source wall. That all
The still force, the strong
far
force,
yeah, the primal
So far behind.
forces of creation are now, Flash can see, other people are starting to like gain power to it as the source, the energy of the source wall is just like
they're
it's
iron
like coming,
fisting it.
right? I mean, they stopped it, but everything is still coming through that wall, and it's whatever the big event is
They're
where it's
Brubaker iron
leading.
fisting it.
So, what's that?
They're Brubaker iron fisting it, just like you did with
all
Green
the
Arrow when he
weapons
came.
and-
Yeah.
yeah.
They're before Iron Fist, it was the Lanterns.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
One last question here from Verum Libertus. He wants to know our thoughts, and that is that Kelly Thompson and Chris Pacciallo are taking over Deadpool with the new ongoing series starting in November. My thoughts is Deadpool. Unless Jeff Johns and Gary Frank are doing it, I'm unlikely to read it. So I love Chris Pacciallo. I don't see him. I don't see Deadpool. I don't see Pacciallo on Deadpool. That's a weird. Yeah, that's a weird placing.
Whatever.
Pacciallo's. I love him, but he's got to be on the right book. Marvel has a history of not putting him on the right book. Him on Doctor Strange. That was the right book for him.
Well, I mean, if they're going to clown him up again, I mean, I don't see. Are they going to clown Deadpool up even more? Pacciallo.
I don't know.
Pacciallo can write that way or draw that way.
I mean, he can. I mean, anyone can do anything, obviously, but
That's not true.
something about Pacciallo and Deadpool, I just don't see. But we'll see. And Kelly Thompson, I mean, I've read some of her work, but I have no real opinion either way.
Didn't he do a handful of issues on Amazing Spider-Man with Deadpool in it?
Yeah, and he did he did was Deadpool in any of the X-Men issues he did? Because he did a pretty good run of X-Men that was the Bendis stuff. But yeah, just I don't know. His run never really clicked with me. Got a few more questions. We'll get to a few of these guys on
I
the
think
Twitters.
everybody here was just like, meh, Deadpool.
The Twitters. Well, it's,
Meh.
well, let me. There was
Well, if it was OG, if they're gonna go OG Deadpool, like kills people, mouths off sometimes, and he's in a comic book once every few months, I think then I would be pumped.
Well, I liked. For me, I think the best Deadpool I ever experienced in a comic book was when it was he was the only person alive when like Cable was time traveling with Hope. Like that was the only time I liked that character because the crazy like I'm batshit nuts.
Oh yeah. That
Yeah.
was, that
The
was
Messiah.
Funny.
The Messiah stuff, like the crazy I'm batshit nuts because every other mutant is dead but me because I keep regenerating. Like that Deadpool I get. It doesn't make any
But you
sense.
saw him in how many comics? One.
Yeah, like like it was a handful,
Two.
like it was a couple. It wasn't like
That's when he's good.
yeah.
Not monthly.
we have a question from I believe it's pronounced Jor-El, Jorell, Jor-El. Sounds good.
Shorel.
Name one character from both Marvel and DC that you hate.
Superboy Prime.
Speaking of
that
Deadpool,
piece of
speaking of
shit.
Deadpool, his is Cyclops and Damian Wayne.
Damian Wayne.
Damian Wayne's amazing.
At one point I would have been like, Damian Wayne sucks, and then he just turned the corner for me and
Damian's
was so
fantastic.
good. Right at the beginning, I was like, really? This is what they're going to do with this?
I mean, Deadpool's my Marvel answer, just flat Deadpool.
It's not Gwenpool?
Or Gwenpool.
No, it's Gwenpool for you. Like,
Gwenpool's real bad.
It's Gwenpool.
But it all comes back to Deadpool. That's just
No,
Deadpool
it's
is the
Gwenpool. Like
Deadpool is the
if you had to read a comic for the rest of your life and you had the choice between Deadpool or Gwenpool.
if I could take a character out of existence, it would be Deadpool. Therefore, Gwenpool would never exist. So that's
No, Gwenpool
that's
would
where I'm
still
going.
exist.
No.
What's your DC one then?
Oh, that I hate. DC character
wow,
that
this
I
is-
hate.
You're about to hear static on the line
the
because this is
bouncing-
not
is it
going to
the
be
bouncing
answered.
boy?
Do I get a pay? Do I still get paid by Warner Brothers if I say I hate
No,
a DC
you can't.
character?
You can't
Oh,
answer
fuck.
this.
Is it Bouncing Boy?
Oh, what the Bouncing Boy's like top 5 character for me. What are you talking about? Who do I
likes
hate?
those characters that bounce?
New 50 Sue.
Oh yeah, you hated
Fuck
New
New
50
50
Sue.
Sue. She's the
You
fucking
hated her.
worst.
Who?
New 50
50
Sue.
Sue.
The worst character ever. Fucking during
Futures End.
Future's End? Yeah,
Future's
trash.
I don't even know who you're talking about.
Good. You don't
There
need
was a
to.
character in Future's End called New 52.
Do you remember when all the
New
Wildstorm
50 Sue.
characters were
Yeah?
in DC? Yeah, just forget any of that ever
Okay.
happened. Just forget it all
Kevin?
happened.
I can't go next. I'm still thinking.
And that is maybe a cop-out answer because that's like a
Charlie,
really
are you
weird...
actually looking at the trade paperbacks to find somebody you hate?
I'm looking for inspiration and failing. is
I'm
the
trying
problem.
for inspiration and failing too.
But I think part of that is
you guys didn't even say your Marvel characters.
so. My problem is there are characters I didn't care for that have grown on me because of particular creative teams and that kind of stuff. It makes it really hard for me to be like, I hate this character because I always feel like they put the right creative team on him and I will just turn a corner again.
I hate that guy from
it's-
Batman the Animated Series, that fat guy that ate the turkey legs that locked Bruce Wayne up in a box. That's my least favorite episode of that goddamn show.
So it's
worst.
So it's Susan Lang. Is your character's name that you hate? And
Who's
she's
that?
referred to as 50 Sue, not
50
New
Sue.
50
Oh,
Sue.
sure.
New
50 You know what I'm talking about. 50
She
Sue.
has
Sure.
her.
Terrible.
Lana Lang is her adoptive mother.
Yes,
and
so
Cole
bad.
Cash is her adopted
so
father.
stupid.
Her affiliation is with Cadmus.
So stupid. Dumb.
I'm striking out on this one, and it's just because I can't think of a character that. See, I'm the opposite of Charlie. Is there a characters I used to be fond of
Yeah.
when they were cool, and then they got so overexposed?
Wolverine.
The Punisher. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't read a Wolverine comic with a knife at my back these days. I just have.
What about Venom and Carnage?
I never cared about them. See, Wolverine and Punisher I used to think were cool until
Yeah.
they just got so saturated.
Yeah.
Do you know who I hate?
Who do you hate?
Vibe.
I like Vibe.
Vibe's terrible.
I mean, Vibe used to be terrible, but I like Vibe now because of the Flash shows and everything like that. They've changed that character
Jeff
around.
Johns has written him sweet.
Now it's the old Vibe with the deep blue costume.
From that Detroit Justice League, right?
Oh, God.
With
the whole,
Gypsy,
the Detroit
Gypsy, Vixen, Steel, and Aquaman.
Just the worst.
You watch your mouth. You watch your mouth.
Steel. Steel is terrible.
cool.
I like the World War II Steel.
Yeah, that one's fine.
Yeah.
You know, Martian Manhunter and Aquaman and Mera on that team. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
The
The Detroit is not good.
I just like I don't know Marvel.
How is Mira in the Detroit
Shoot,
Justice League?
She got washed up on Lake Michigan.
I know, right? Is it right? Lake Michigan? I mean, really?
How's Aquaman on that team? Yeah, I don't know.
Exactly. That reminds me of like the
Charlie's
boys
like
with
walking.
The deep
Yeah,
is
Charlie-
moving to Cleveland.
Charlie is
hate
pacing
things.
up and down the walls.
I have a runner up for Marvel. Of course, that's
So
Sam
Sam
Alexander
Alexander
Nova.
Nova. Yeah, that's
of
what I was
course,
gonna say.
yeah, fucking Kid Nova. You know,
I have to say
Charlie,
it. I have
anything?
to say it again. Superboy Prime is fucking garbage.
that's okay. You're entitled to your
So I'm
terrible
Vibe
opinion.
on
Superboy Prime's
the DC
amazing.
side, the Marvel side. You know,
Do you
Big
like
Wheel?
Death's
You hate
Head?
Big Wheel?
I don't. Okay,
I'm
I
perfectly fine with that saying.
How is Charlie fine with Death's Head?
Charlie doesn't
Death's
hate
Head is
things.
I know.
fine.
This is the hardest question for Charlie.
You've got there's Scott.
Here's my story of when I used to go to the used bookstore and just buy
Can you hear him?
comics with
A little bit.
anything that I recognized.
Yeah.
Scott.
Death's Head had X-Men in it, so I had a
this
bunch
is
of
true.
random Death's Head at the time just because it had X-Men in it.
You've got to hate some like D-list Spider-Man. What's the villain that shows up at a Spider-Man book and you're like, God damn, the White Rabbit again. I hate this person.
well, the White Rabbit I don't like, but it's
or Leapfrog.
I
or,
love Leapfrog and the Gibbon and
God,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Gibbon.
The Gibbon's awesome.
oh my God, I love all those the Grizzly and all those
Wow.
terrible villains. And there was one storyline probably in the 90s where those terrible villains
The
eventually
Rose. Do you hate
became,
the Rose?
they became good guys. I liked all those.
Penance. I'm surprised you didn't say
Oh
Penance.
God, Penance.
Never heard of him. No, because that is Speedball still. It's a phase of a character. It's not a separate character.
So, Brock, tell us what you don't like about SBP.
SBP.
Superboy Prime.
Oh God! Why are you
best.
even doing acronyms? He's the worst. He's just a whining, crying fanboy.
Angry internet troll.
Internet trolls
So
that like
good.
thinks they have power. If like fuck that character.
I relate. That's why I really like him.
If he was putting toothpaste on, like if he's trying to put toothpaste on it and he falls off, he's going to kill somebody because he's so mad about it.
See, I don't like that
Character's the worst.
character because it makes no sense. Because the Earth Prime concept, like, Earth Prime is where we are now sitting recording this.
Correct.
So there is no Superboy Prime.
There is. He's off in the DC
internet
universe.
trolls.
But I hate when he comes back home and there's got like the comics that show his adventures.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that
Superboy
concept.
Superboy
I don't
Prime is-
hate that character. If that was like the Superboy of Earth Z,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a problem.
What if the panels that they showed him in when he came back were actually photos? So instead of drawn, they actually put photos in
Spaghetti.
those. Would that be better or worse?
It'd be worse.
No, because the character's just
Worse or
it's
better,
like
Kevin?
it's like internet trolls writing
I
fan
don't
fiction
know.
about themselves. It's the worst.
Charlie?
Oh, he's back.
So for Marvel, Gwen Stacy's kids.
Oh, from the trash Straczynski. Yeah. I forgot about that stuff.
Are you going back to DC now?
They have
Charlie is going back to the rat. Whoever asked this question, this is like the riddle of the Sphinx
This is
for
like-
Charlie.
this is like
This is like his
torture.
unbeatable riddle.
They have retconned. Those kids away and all that entire Gwen Stacy thing at this point.
Is that out of
It
continuity?
has to be. There's zero chance that they would acknowledge any of that stuff.
Wasn't that the Mephisto?
That was like right before it.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it was in that same era,
Yeah,
right?
There's
So this
zero
is the,
chance.
This is the Norman Osborn stuff, right?
Yeah. Right before the Mephisto stuff. There's zero chance that they'd acknowledge that today.
Just so you know, we have plenty of issues with that.
And they made the right decision.
To get rid of the kid?
Who's worse, the kids or Trouble May Parker? May, whatever her name is.
Spider Girl or Trouble?
Trouble? Aunt May, young Aunt May.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what's worse?
God, there are some dumb Spider-Man. There's just some dumb stuff.
Mark Miller's Aunt May like porn comic is the worst fucking thing ever.
Wait. I don't even know what this is.
Yeah, he did a comic with like young Aunt May.
Just
called
listen to
Trouble.
what you just said. Mark Miller's Aunt May
that's
porn
young Aunt
comic.
May?
Yeah.
Oh God,
Yeah.
I
What's it
froze
called?
in
It's called Trouble.
It's called Trouble.
There are
It's
these
bad.
two like 16-year-old girls like on the cover, and you're like, this is fucking creepy. Like photo cover.
We might have a set, but I
Creepy.
can't get to it right now.
It's right behind Ryan.
It's right behind Ryan.
I don't want that in my store.
It's in your store
It's in
now.
your store. I think it's in a set.
Packaged
Terrible.
in a set.
All right, while Charlie is debating, let's move on.
This
to
could
some
go.
other
Yeah,
questions.
if you just let this play out in real time, we could
So
be here
on
another 3
episode
hours.
426,
I will say
we'll announce his DC
this is
hate.
what I hate when a main character that you've read for years gets pushed away and some new random other version of that character gets jammed down my throat.
Wow.
That is why
I hate
I
that.
do not like Kyle Rayner.
I get
exactly what you just described.
No, I get it.
Hey, when
Because
we
they
were
took
ranking the
out-
Green Lanterns, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I defended Kyle.
I'll agree with this circa Marvel 2017. Leave DC 1990s out of this, okay? Come on.
What about DC 2000s a couple years ago? What about Wally West?
I love Wally West.
Really?
Yeah.
Little redheaded Wally West. They took him away from me.
Well, that's a different thing. Wally's here. Wally's still
He's
here.
back.
Yeah. You mean
As
Walter,
of
about
people.
Walter West?
And he killed people. What the hell?
Hey, he's going to get better. Don't worry about it. It's Cross
killed
X,
people. I got better.
Cross X Hunter says, do you guys like dust jackets on your
Yes.
collected comic books? I'm not a fan of them even on regular non-comic books. Regular non-comic
Like
books.
on trade paperbacks?
Like dust jackets. Yeah,
on
dust jackets.
hardcovers.
On
I mean, you
hardcovers,
kinda-
yes.
Yes. On trade paperbacks? What?
Yeah.
What
Why
person?
would-
Why?
No. He means books. Like books. He doesn't like dust jackets on books. He just wants to print it on the binding.
Really? No.
Yeah.
Give
No,
me the
I
dust
like
jacket.
the
I like
dust
dust jackets, yeah.
I do, but I always take them
fact-
off whenever I do anything with it.
In
So I
fact,
never.
if I had the dust jacket, if I didn't have one, I'd go get a paper bag from Safeway and fold it up like I did in high school and make a dust
You know,
jacket.
kids don't do that anymore.
Well, that's because they don't care about their stuff.
My favorite thing is when there's a sweet dust jacket and you take it off and there's something
Under-
different
binding.
that's
Yeah.
actually
Really-
printed
Something
on the
better
book.
on
Yes.
the book. You're like, wow, it's a
Or they
secret.
did, or they did something nice with the binding, and like it's like opening. You're like, oh
Yeah.
wow, this isn't
Yeah.
just binding.
It's like something good with potentially something good underneath it, too.
DC for a while had those embossed logos in the front of the thing that the dust jacket covered up, which were cool.
We'll do a couple more questions, and we're going to talk about House of X. Geek says, for the first time in my life, I find myself looking forward to other movies more than Star Wars. I guess number 8 ruined that franchise for me.
Oh, get over it.
But he says, because for movies coming out the rest of this year, he says, am I the only one who's highly anticipating the Joker movie? You
Yes.
are not the only one. I mean, by far, the Joker is my most anticipated movie. Still coming
Yeah.
out this year. No
Really?
question. Oh my God, Joker!
I'm excited for Joker and Star Wars 9, and
I have
Excited, yes. Wary, yes.
Of course, I'm
Yes.
cautiously optimistic, but I am very optimistic. That trailer was incredible.
I don't know if I would say optimistic. I am very curious.
Yeah.
well, and especially with all the
I'm on the
like,
Kevin boat.
all the articles coming out that are saying Oscar worthy. It's like, huh?
They were saying that about Suicide Squad, too.
And
And it won.
it won. So there
How
you
about
go.
that?
There you go.
Right?
It's okay.
If we can count on that most hated character question, if we can like dip into the movie universes, well, that becomes a lot easier to answer than the comics.
That Hal Jordan man from that Green Lantern movie.
It's from,
That wouldn't even probably make my top
That's
5.
not even close.
it's from Dan.
Number one.
It's from Dan, one of my
Enchantress?
retailer
We'll do
buddies.
it. I'll
says,
tell you at the commercial.
says Marvel Antics are at an all-time high. FOC Wednesday morning, and I'll explain that real quick. They announced a variant cover today from Marvel, and our orders are due tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. East Coast time. And I'm like, the fuck? Like, how the hell we do? Like, we have like 14 hours to order a comic book. Thanks, Marvel. That's it. If you want customer.comichub.com, pre-order your
What is it?
your J.J. Abrams Spider-Man #1 Chip Kid die cut cover. That's the foil.
No.
That's the die cut cover.
You had me at JJ, but if it was only J. Jonah Jameson photo cover starring.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Oh, is Charlie ready?
Just
Razor-
to give a picture here, Charlie is now standing in the aisle of the trade paperbacks, hands in pockets, furrow on his brow, staring at the spines, trying to answer this guy's question. That's the kind of dedication you get on this show.
Razor thin print runs 4 weeks into a hit, talking about House of X and Powers of 10. Overships on crappy books, including Marvel's been overshipping everything recently.
They're not padding their numbers at all.
Yeah. More books and variants than ever. Rising cover costs. How much more can the market take? Every other publisher is working with us, yet Marvel has shifted all the risk onto us. Well, Dan, I agree with a lot of this. It
will take what it's being given, which is constant speculation all the time about all these Marvel books, and as soon as that goes away, then they'll stop. And unfortunately, they're going to stop a little later than it goes away. That's just the way it always is.
Well, my Marvel numbers have probably never been higher than they are at this point. Some of it is because they're putting out the most books they've ever put out. But we are seeing rising numbers on a lot of the titles. I am taking as little risk as possible. I will go for their deeper discounts or extra copies whenever they're needed. Although they generally work out. However, I am more than happy to cut the bone for issue number 2. And if a book suddenly starts dropping readers, I cut even further than that. Dude, FOC. Yeah, you get a couple books, you get shafted on on stuff that ships twice a month.
But you're
like
safe,
House of X.
and you're a good business.
There's. If you're going to get stuck with a book, you're really only going to get stuck with 1 or 2 issues worth. And if anyone's going like so crazy overboard, maybe you should kind of peel that back a little bit anyway.
But I feel like somewhere, if you've got smart comic book shop owners in your area, and they are running a pretty tight ship, then you're going to sell out of the speculator-driven comics, thus fueling the speculators to purchase more or be more on top of it, which is always going to push everything. But at no point are now, if you're a smart retailer, in danger the way you were in the 2000s.
If you were ordering Spawn in the mid-90s, you'd have like 12 issues on order, and suddenly nobody comes in anymore. You're like, sorry,
right?
Yeah,
and now you're ordering smart, and it keeps the speculators
and it happens like
excited
like,
about trying to find something that they want to get.
I could not cut Major X fast enough. I could not cut Cosmic Ghost Rider.
You couldn't cut Immortal Hulk fast enough when you bumped it.
Well,
the Cosmic Ghost Rider rules the world thing. It's because it's not Donny Cates,
right? It's just like we sold Amazing, and then again I just couldn't cut it fast enough. Well, so there's a few of these.
The thing is like the thing with like House of X, right?
Yeah,
is FOC was a month for number 1 was a month ahead of time.
Oh, it's normal 3 weeks, but you were FOCing 1 and 2 before 1 shipped.
Yeah, you were FOCing 1 and 2 before 1 shipped. And the thing is what people don't understand is that there's a drop-off in every single comic book from 1 to 2.
Yeah.
And it's...
Except for House of X.
No, there's a drop-off. It's just smart stores were gauging the drop-off like the standard drop-off that they've been experiencing, which is... all these variant covers, I'm only going to order this much now.
Yep.
Well, it's the same. Okay, we'll use Naomi as an example. Not a single shop ate crap on ordering too much Naomi.
5 and 6. I sure did. I got way too many because the numbers were just bananas. Right? People were selling out of crate, and I bump. Whoa. Okay, found the level. Cut. Book's over, and I'm stuck with 5s and 6s.
Yeah,
but not a ton, but way more than I need, right? But what happened with that, right? The speculator stuff dried up because they're everywhere, so nobody needs it. That's what happened with us with Immortal Hulk. We were like sell out, number up. Boom, we hit that capacity, sales plummeted, and it's just down to like what it was back before the speculators went absolutely crazy. But yeah, I'm not getting stuck with too many books. A lot of these are problems, right? But people are rising cover costs. People are still buying them. Nobody's complaining. I'm selling tons of copies of $5.99, $7.99 books.
Something like House of X2, if you're a publisher and you're behind your product, overprint that. Right?
Yeah, like Marvel's not going to.
So here's a Charlie update. He is now sitting on the ground, rocking back and forth, humming to himself. because he cannot.
He's approximately at the S's of the DC section.
Question from Tor, and I tweeted about this the other day, but I'll read his question. He says, "What are your take on all the buzz around DC recently? AT&T is restructuring. Jim Lee's comments about flat digital sales. Dan Didio's comments on the market as a whole. The Forbes article, which caused some YouTubers to create clickbait videos. I think DC is fine, but the market is not great." Tor, you almost entirely summed up what I was going to say, except for the very last part. DC is fine, and the market is great. There's a lot of bullshit going around about DC right now. DC Comics has been... Warner Brothers was going to shut DC Comics down in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, now 20-teens, and into the 2020s, and everyone will report forever that they're going to go out of business, and guess what? They're not.
Nobody's going to watch their dumb video if they say it's... Oh, everything's in the middle.
Exactly.
You have to say
DC's,
it's great.
It's over.
It's the best or it's the worst.
DC's done.
It's done.
DC's destroyed. It's over.
DC's crushing everything in the universe.
They're like,
They're
the
gonna
sales
take
chart
over.
numbers, they're down.
Yeah.
Marvel's up. And I'm like, do you know how much Marvel's putting out? Like, do you not understand numbers? Like,
AT&T's restructuring was going to happen under Warner Brothers or anything. Nothing stays, pure in a vacuum forever. Things change. Moving Mad to a reprint seems to be probably the better idea because nobody was buying it. The bookstore formats for Mad Magazine is the preferred format, I have to assume, because nobody cares about the magazine. It's nice that people like the concept of Mad. Nobody buys Mad. That's the problem.
I only liked the thing in the back. Where you put the trifold.
Yeah.
The trifold. That's what I liked.
Jim Lee's comments about digital sales were this. Digital sales kind of suck. They're very flat. Well, that's just bookstore. That's digital books. Ebooks sales are flat or down.
It's 10% of the market. Like, that's it.
Yeah, it's like 15, but this goes into bookstore.
Really? So the books it has flattened out also.
Oh yeah, years ago. It isn't 95% of the market. It's less than half the market is ebooks. The people like real books. What a fucking shock. Dan Didio's comments of the market are I think somewhat incorrect. He had some comments
for this one.
Yeah, he had some comments about being frustrated with being frustrated with variant covers and speculation and all this stuff. And I'm right there with him on that. But I think, there's a lot of reasons people buy comics, and no reason is a bad reason at the end of the day, as long as it's moving units.
And it was also his comment was also about the reprint, the facsimile, and the
and I think he's totally wrong about those. The facsimile editions.
Yeah, because he was saying, why is this book that we published 30 years ago, 40 years ago, outselling our top books? I'm like, because it's $1.
It's $1. It reprints giant size X-Men number 1, right? There's not an infinite amount of these.
No.
There is only a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 of these books between Marvel and DC combined over 80 years of history, 80 plus years of history. So they will run out of books to reprint in that format at some point. They've reprinted some fucking 90s X-Force or X-Factor issue this week. I ordered one for my one guy that got it. They've reprinted like Dazzler number 1. I didn't order that, right? But when you're reprinting good stuff, why would you deny current readers or new readers that material?
Look at them. Like, if you look at what Marvel put out with Amazing Spider-Man 300, they printed the True Believers of that. That book cost so much money. The only way people are going to get it is in a trade collection, or if they somehow just put out a whole shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Now somebody can go down to the shop and go, oh look, for Venom here, let me read it for $1.
Yeah.
Sweet. I just wanted to experience it.
Yeah.
In comic book form, and that's what you're giving these people. Like, they're reprinting Hush 608. I'm like, how many times have they reprinted the Hush trade?
Yeah. But again, it's another.
Again,
it's a $1 comic that you give to someone. And you're like, if you like that, there's a trade paperback.
Exactly.
Right?
It's that thing that it brings them in. It's not just this nostalgia thing. Like my son, he's like on this Spider-Man kick. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And so, I took him over to the True Believers rack and bought 7 True Believers for my son for $1 and said, here's Spider-Man over the ages. He had already read through issue 1, the reprint of Amazing Spider-Man 1, and he's like super excited to read the rest of them.
Yeah,
so it's like
awesome.
That's bringing him into it.
Yeah. The Forbes article is just bullshit because it's written by a contributor, and contributors can be anyone.
Doterra?
No. So the Forbes article is just a bunch of speculation and nonsense, and YouTube is fucking trash. So
Whoa, you just lost half of a.
That's-
You lost everybody in our audience
fine.
that's
under the age of exactly under the age of 17.
Or on one side of a ring.
It's okay if I lost all our right wing homegrown terrorists with their AK-47s getting posting death threats on YouTube. That's just they're all a bunch of neo-Nazis on there. It's fine. It's totally fine. YouTube's fucking the worst.
YouTube's the worst.
The worst.
It's so green too. There's just some hella liberals out there talking about how to grow pot, and do that stuff too.
So yeah,
You got to go both ways.
DC's fine. Is
Okay.
there?
I'm gonna go on a tangent right here.
Yeah.
You know what? We were talking about things that we hate. I'm poking
Whoa,
Kevin.
Charlie's back. Wait a second.
Charlie's back.
Wait, did you find it?
I don't know.
Oh, son of a...
The only thing I could come up with as I was walking around was I remember not being a fan of the new 52 Superboy and what they
Not
were
a
doing.
fan.
But the problem is
That's like
but
strong
the
condemnation.
problem is it's been long enough since I read any of that. If he showed up in a book now, I would have immediately
Charlie.
put it down.
The new 52 Superboy is awful.
Yes.
The new 52 Teen Titans, awful.
Oh no,
you're
I remember it being awful,
Yeah.
but
Awful.
I don't remember the story at all. Like my brain has repressed enough of it that
Awful.
I remember it being awful. I don't really remember
Anything
specifics.
Liefeld, New 52 is pretty much bad. So you can hate Deathstroke for a little bit.
But the thing is
Yeah.
But that's
there's-
not your most hated character. That's just that.
Yeah, so here's the distinction. Like, if they tried to bring back Gwen Stacy's kids, I would not buy the book. I would basically be
Make
like,
a YouTube channel and start screaming at people.
possibly yes,
Except for he'd have his kids do it.
because I own hardcovers of the entire Straczynski run of
You
Spider-Man,
haven't read?
and I cannot bring myself to take them off the shelf to reread
At
them.
least take
Because-
the plastic off of them.
Well, the thing is I reread a bunch of that stuff up until those issues came out. And there was even a point where I'm like, well, I already own the rest of these. I just need like 2 more and I have the entire run. Maybe over time, I won't have that reaction whenever I think about rereading that story. And it's never like I've talked about, and Kevin was there when I bought like the Clone Saga Omnibus Volume 1, where I'm just like, I remember this being terrible,
Yep.
but I want it.
But this is so terrible.
The Clone
You
Saga,
don't.
the Clone Saga thing, I feel like was terrible, except for if you were between 13 and 17 when it came out, and then that was the greatest thing ever.
Well, I think for me, part of it is like a lot of
Those
things.
kids don't realize it's
You-
terrible.
You, with how long that went on, how many issues it went into, you reached a point when you were just burnt out. You were like, fuck this. I just want my Peter Parker back. I want my...
Clone Saga's the early 0 year for Batman. The nightmares of Tom
We got
King.
a lot of Ben Riley. I was not a fan of Ben Riley in the blue hoodie.
But the thing is I also look back on that kind of going like, well, if you take the time factor out of it, I really want my Peter Parker Spider-Man back. There are arcs in there I remember enjoying.
Yeah.
And that's where when I start looking at the omnibus, I'm like, oh, I remember liking that part and that part. And that's where, like, when I look at a lot of, I even remember that issue. But
would they reprint
that's
that?
the thing about some of these old arcs is eventually they kind of turn a corner where you just kind of go, okay, it went on too long or whatnot. But being able to just sit down and read it is not the same experience as waiting years for things to return to an idea of like status quo.
Oh, we haven't talked about it. Oh, I don't like it when they take away characters that shouldn't be taken away. I miss Oracle.
We have one final question for the night that I'm going to get to. It's a quick one. It's from Aditya. Says, do you guys think Doomsday Clock 12 will ship by the end of the year? And once again, let's go for a little DC
The answer
update.
is no, and it's still no.
No, we have to update.
Number 11 on FOC this past week, meaning it ships in 3 weeks, September 4th, I believe.
So then there's no way it's coming out this year.
September 4th for number 11.
When was number
So then
10?
if it's on schedule, number 12 will be out first week of November.
When was
but
10
I
out?
guarantee you, if it's into November, they're going to be like, "Fuck it, we're just going to make that our big book."
Yeah,
for,
and they're
That
going to
could be
try to shoot for the November date.
Christmas Day book.
Yeah.
Is or the Thursday after
when
Christmas
did 10
book.
come out?
May?
June, July, August, September. 4 months. September, October, November, December, January. There you go.
at least it's at the beginning of September.
2019, last week of December. John's a fucking Gary Frank. I believe in you. I'm not losing this bet.
Okay.
Kevin is,
We'll
is
put
convinced.
we'll put a pin in this topic. I am convinced, and other smart people are convinced with me.
I'll be the first one to admit, I kind of love the fact that when you first brought this up, it's just like,
In 2018.
how can
Yes.
it not finish this
in
year?
2018.
You mean 2017?
No,
Yeah.
when this
2017 is
topic
when
first
number
came
one
up
dropped.
was
Oh, yeah.
2018.
Yeah. Yes.
But it came up like in February of 2018.
Is this
And I'm
gonna
like,
finish before
what do you mean?
2020?
You just got to make it through like 4
Yeah.
issues in 12 months.
Charlie was agog that I could even suggest it wouldn't finish in 2019.
But even then I said, worst case
Yep.
scenario is it would be the
Christmas
book.
Yeah.
If they get it in under the wire
doing it.
at the end of November and kind of fit with the same release time as the original Watchmen, it would have taken 2 fucking years to release 12 issues.
Yeah, and that's actually fine. Like, I'm okay. That's every other month. That's okay. But we had monthly.
In theory,
We had monthly.
In actually application, no.
Ryan's like, that's okay. Look,
It is.
just almost like so sad and disgusted at the same time.
We
You
have-
had to agree with it because it's DC.
If we have
AT&T pays them to
So,
Civil War did not take this
so
long to come
I have
out.
to ask, what happens if they suddenly decide to make it a 13 issue and 12 still ships?
I
21,
burn the store to the
2021.
ground. Okay.
Yeah, no, the bet is the final issue of Doomsday Clock. Do you remember the series Justice, the Alex Ross?
that's-
Oh, I love that.
Okay, that is Doug Braithwaite pencils, Ross painting over those pencils.
Yeah.
That was a bi-monthly book that was never late and came out 12 issues over 2 years.
Yep.
Painting.
Yeah.
Fully painted interiors after someone else already drew them.
So
They never missed a deadline.
okay. So
I love that book.
again,
Why are the
we had
deadlines
monthly,
being missed? I want to know who needs to be punched.
We had
That's
monthly.
essentially it.
and then bi-monthly, and then four
every
monthly.
3 months, and then every 4 months.
So now, if it averages out to every other month, then we're fine. We're fine. We're totally
It's not
fine.
on us. It's basically, hey, here's Doomsday Clock. It's not on a schedule. It's just going to come out whenever we want it to come out.
Let's talk about something that's coming out very quickly. Let's talk about House of X number 2. This is going to be full spoilers for House of X number 2, and maybe we'll talk about Powers number 1 a little bit here. But this was one of 3 issues that are being deemed, if you look at the reading or in the back,
This
as
is where I think we're missing out on.
So this is full spoilers from the
full
go.
spoilers from the go. Yeah.
so. This is your warning. We're going to talk about this. We had a lot of questions about it. We're gonna
this is where we would need a
talk
Bryce
about for a
briefly,
bit.
Yeah,
honestly.
is Bryce
I
going to
don't-
send
you
something
need
in
to
about
have
this?
Bryce
don't have
record.
enough time for Bryce briefly.
No,
No, you need to have him record one.
It would be like
of
a
him
6-part episode. Okay,
just him ranting. That's all I want. Is him ranting.
he hasn't even got these books yet.
Right.
No, he
Yeah.
just did. Oh no, he
All right,
shipped them.
he didn't get this one yet.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Them arriving at his house and him opening them are 2 different timelines.
Yeah,
Oh no,
yeah,
I
yeah.
rub it in his face on Twitter that I've read them before he has.
The Bryce that has read this is in timeline number 6. Okay,
Yes. Yeah.
that's all I'm
For
saying.
sure. Yes. Along with the old Captain America from Endgame.
For long-time listeners, we are going to talk about House of X number 2. So, I read a lot of Grant Morrison. Let's just start with that. And I like Grant Morrison quite a bit. And often I have to look up what Grant Morrison's talking about and see some of the themes and read interviews with him. It's pretty cool, but I always kind of find I get it at the end. I'm struggling with this second issue with both the... why did you show me Bouncing Boy picks? Like, it's amazing. Top 5. Bouncing Boy,
Right.
top 5.
I didn't misquote you, right?
No, top
Okay.
5.
How is this pertaining?
House of X number 2. Now, people can correct me. we'll obviously have a bear talk here. This issue is about the origin of Moira McTaggart, longtime X-related person who I didn't realize had still been dead since like pre the Grant Morrison run. Is that correct?
Well, according to what timeline?
Did they never bring her back? I've read probably 1,000 X-Men comics from that time, and I guess I don't remember her being around, but Moira McTaggart has been dead since...
For a long time.
Like, before... Like, she died right prior to Morrison taking over X-Men, and I just assumed she came back at some point, but maybe not?
I would have thought so also.
Yeah, but I can't... So this is now the secret history of Moira McTaggart, who
This needed to be a goddamn fold out.
has been a mutant always, apparently, and is living 10 non-consecutive but takes place at the same time lifetimes that all are in not the 616 Marvel Universe, or possibly 10 versions of the 616 Marvel Universe.
But so, okay.
I think. And now she's figured it out on her 10th and final timeline.
But these are not
top one, Scott. Top one.
This is the list for the lamest characters.
Top one. Matter Eater Lad. Top one character. Okay.
Okay.
This is the lamest characters list.
But
Matter Eater Lad is fucking fantastic.
okay. Back to House of
Sorry, so distracted.
Okay. In the different lifetimes that this shows,
Yes.
Right.
it's a different timeline each time, because when she is reborn, it's not like everyone else has gone on aging. So is it different timelines, or does the world reset with her?
I think the world resets with her.
So she dies and the entire world resets.
The entire world resets.
That's a hell of a mutant power.
Well,
that's why I'm saying. That's why
she can only do it 11 times.
the problem is...
Right? Or about 11.
Because if we did
Isn't that what
9, it's too close to
It said it's
Catwoman.
about 11.
Yeah.
The problem is her fourth life is the Silver Age X-Men, the Claremont Byrne X-Men, and Bendis's X-Men.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Why do you gotta huh that?
So are those... Did Hickman just retcon Claremont and Byrne's X-Men out of continuity?
Yeah.
I don't know that you can answer that yet.
Huh?
Like, you can huh all you want. That was a very... If you're gonna do time travel...
Well, it's not really time travel.
The timeline that we are in now, her 10th time, right? Her 10th timeline is Grant Morrison's New X-Men, and then House of X. So no X-Men book for the last almost 20 years, 15 years, has happened.
Fair enough.
Because it's the genocide of Genosha and Moira's death.
They can always kill her and come back later, because it said about 11 times.
Yeah.
But it doesn't in that graph in the back. It just says life 1, life 2, life 3. It doesn't indicate, are these different worlds? Are these different?
Right.
Yeah,
So-
but that's why it all kind of aligns.
It all happens at the same
Well, the thing is there's things
time period.
There are
She's
things
not
that,
born in the 1400s,
Right.
And then the 1500s. No, she's born today, dies, redoes the entire universe. But the question is her 10th timeline 616? The 9th timeline is 615. The 8th timeline is 614.
Or do they just not exist after that point?
well, this would have been better as a fold out, but
This would have been...
So we have these, for people that maybe haven't read the issues, we basically have Moira McTaggart, who's living the 10 of her 10 lives. If she dies again...
About 11.
Okay. If she dies again, in theory, she's no longer reborn. All right.
Ish.
But we have this chart, and we have this
Because he wasn't exact about the 10. He was like about... I mean, it wasn't exact. So maybe she eats healthy and does things right.
But
And how do they know she can only... Was it Destiny?
and she remembers all this stuff. And Destiny, I believe, is dead. And so, right, it just don't know. Right, these characters come from various parts, like various alternate realities within the same one reality. There's one where she ends up teaming up with Magneto and then Apocalypse because she's like, fuck it, mutants have to take over the world. I don't know what else to do. And now she's in the final timeline, which is young Moira and young... And she remembers all this. She remembers all these timelines. So young Moira and young Xavier, he reads her mind young to set up the future, but it's after she's died and come back.
Doesn't she remember?
And he's old? So I don't...
Doesn't she remember the timelines when when her mutant power manifests? Or was it...
It's always manifest. That's why she...
No, it manifests. No. It manifests at 13.
She always knows what's going on.
Yeah, she remembers everything. She always
knows what's going on, but something about her mutant power kicking in as a teenager.
Yeah, it kicks in at
whereas
13.
Basically she can be reborn after she gains her mutant power.
Yeah.
She has the knowledge, but...
And that's why the only way she can die is if she dies before it manifests.
So, like, I'm not against, like, retconning a character, especially someone like Moira Taggart. I mean, you know, she's obviously a big part of the X-Men, but it hasn't been a major part in years. It does kind of do some hinky stuff to her relationship with Charles and Proteus and you know, her kid and all this other stuff that they've dealt with, but I mean, Marvel doesn't Crisis, right? This is like X-Men Crisis, but this after House of X and Powers of 10 #1, I figured, well, these books they're not going to affect the Marvel universe.
And then this one, you're like, for bam.
Well, this one is,
retcon.
It's definitely not going to affect anything else. Like, this might as well be its own continuity. Like, there's no way they acknowledge any of this stuff in the Marvel, in any other comic, ever. It doesn't work with
You want to know why?
Marvel.
You want to know why?
Why?
Because the rest of the universe is already living the universe according to what this book is being written as.
But it can if you want to discount. No, it can't, because you're saying the kid X-Men who have gone into other books are from Timeline 4, because that's the Bendis X-Men stuff. All the Bendis X-Men stuff, all the Byrne Claremont X-Men stuff, those are all in another a vanished timeline.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So any book involving the X-Men in the last 40 years hasn't happened, short of apparently Morrison's X-Men.
I don't see how you have any problem with this after how many crises.
But that's what I said. Marvel doesn't do this.
Just did it.
Did they?
Not. Or not, because Moira could go back and reset to what
we don't even know
have.
what happened in number 6.
Yeah, well, 6 is the question, right? They don't talk about that. They jump so straight to 7. But I mean, this I don't know how else to read this page, and that I mean, this is Days of Future Past there at the end too, right? I mean, so what? I don't get what that's saying. That's the 616. That is Universe 4 is the 616.
In the Byrne Claremont era, Moira McTaggart was in there as Banshee's girlfriend and a scientist who knew Xavier.
Yeah.
But things would happen in those stories where she would be surprised.
Right.
And they were in peril. So obviously Hickman has gone back through X-Men lore.
Yeah.
So how do you explain that? I'm not asking for every I to be dotted and every T to be crossed down to the most anal fanboy
of course.
degree. But I'm saying if she existed in that timeline, wouldn't she have known everything that was going to happen? Right. Or would she not have known it because that timeline had never existed before?
That timeline had never existed before.
Because each time she makes different decisions creates something different.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems like she just sort of has to kind of fake around till she gets to the point and learns off of each one. But
when something doesn't change, she probably knows, and there's no reaction. But if it does change, she's like, "Oh, whoa!"
But so if her fourth life is the 616 MCU, then kind of who cares about what happens in any of these books? Because it's not the Marvel universe; it's an alternate reality, and I mean, people will care. It's a good story, but it's.
But isn't that first page of House of X #1 kind of an indication we're somewhere different?
Yeah. I mean, it's clearly not.
It's not the X-Men.
The X-Men. It's something else. So
It's these things being born from Krakoa.
Yeah, and I know some people, because I know Sinister is going to be in some future issues, and that's a very Mr. Sinister style thing to do. So, is Professor X actually Mr. Sinister or like a Sinister pod person or something like that? But I like the story, but it doesn't jive with it. Like this is like X-Men Black Label. Like this is some other thing, and again, that's cool, but.
Read the rest of the story. Stop thinking too much about it until it's done, and then we can think about it.
Yeah, of course,
because they could be in process of retconning all sorts of stuff.
So, I mean, just going through the timeline of Life Number 10, they still mention Proteus. They still mention the founding the Institute and that kind of stuff. So, I don't think everything was sort of retconned out.
Yeah,
because some of that stuff is definitely not Morrison.
Right. No. Well, but if you look at it, if you look at kind of how they squeeze this timeline in at the end there, the Proteus, she gives birth when she's 31 years old. So you have the time from 31 to 50 when she dies. So she dies at 50 years old, and in House of X is year 52. She is not 52 in this comic book, talking to Professor X, so clearly this takes place
but like
past.
the genocide at Genosha was Morrison, if I recall.
I was right before Morrison, right? That's what led into his run. So those actually need to be flipped. They fucked that up in the printing.
Yeah,
she dies first.
She fakes her death.
And then, she dies. In the comics, she dies. And then, but in this, they're saying she fakes her death or something. And then the genocide of Genosha, that is the start of the Morrison run. So, those need to they printed those incorrectly, those flip. But that aside, you have this big time, but I mean, again, I have to assume just things happen similar, but why would they specifically point out the Silver Age, the Bronze Age, the Modern, and Days of Future Past as saying those no longer happened? It's a weird, she dies at 55 years old in a Sentinel attack, I'm assuming that's Days of Future Past. So, I just...
Yeah. No, there's events that we know about Moira that, at least from the timeline, only appear infrequently. Like the Institute only appeared in like Timeline 3 and Timeline 10, if I recall.
It says in 4 that her and Professor X created the
school.
The school. She didn't create the school, right?
No.
So why? Like, that's the confusion here. Is that appears to be the 616 X-Men stuff, but that's not what happened. So there's like
retcon.
No, I mean
this is more than a retcon, though. Again, this is like Crisis level of retcon, and if that's what this is, if Marvel comes out the end of this going, surprise, we're rebooting every single book in November, and everything's a #1 in this new House of X universe.
Why are you giving them ideas?
Okay, fine, but it doesn't. There's still way too many questions. I just don't.
You're thinking way too much.
Well,
you're thinking we're filling time on a podcast.
You have to. This isn't like, okay, blah blah blah. I've read it, put it away.
This
done.
is a noble task.
Yeah,
that they've put a lot of thought into. And in issue number 2, I'm pretty excited to see where it goes with another.
Well, this is
10 issues of what's going on.
Yeah, but one of the things I really like about this, but is very interesting, is Moira has always been sort of like a supporting character. When they call her in when there's a virus, there's a like she's never been
not a mutant.
She's not a mutant, and she's never been portrayed as what I would call a mastermind. This absolutely portrays her as a mastermind. Like, she's pulling all the strings to try and affect a different outcome.
Wouldn't it make sense that now Proteus is more powerful because of that? Couldn't it just been because of Professor X? Now this makes all the more sense.
It makes sense. It also, if everything was done deliberately, I wouldn't be surprised if characters like Proteus, who I don't think has been seen in a very long time,
really long time,
reemerge for a reason.
Are they saying that this is the only timeline in which she gives birth to Proteus? Well, it looks like it.
I didn't spotted in any other time.
Yeah, I don't see him in any of the others. Yeah, I don't want to come off too down on this because I like it. It's
You're
interesting.
nitpicking.
I'm trying to get the where does this line up with everything else continuity.
So
because
this is the beauty of a character like this at this point. As a mastermind, she gets to pick and choose what is still in continuity.
So Proteus was in the uncanny
Yeah.
era.
yeah,
Okay, so if she's given birth to him in timeline 10,
yeah. Right.
As I said,
that
she gets
era.
to choose how the X-Men get formed, how, like,
But it doesn't. I don't think she.
this is a Groundhog's Day scenario. She gets to create the perfect reality
but is
for
that,
her.
But is that what she's
Phil?
doing? Is that what she's doing?
Watch
Well,
that first
she
step.
talked about trying to
It's a
kill all the
doozy.
Trasks. That didn't work. She tried joining Apocalypse. That didn't work. She tried.
So
Don't drive angry.
So the 616. If we believe Lifetime 10 is now in the 616, then this is the perfect universe for the X-Men. Should do a great job.
no, but
But it's the best
But
you could do in 10 tries.
this is
It's the best you could do in 10 tries by just
I think
not
this is
doing other stuff.
I want to say this is kind of like Hickman's metaverse that DC has, but not as clean.
Oh, I think it's good.
I think it's
Okay, this is the problem. You guys
This
are
is the
really
most
nitpicking
compelling-
over a map at the back of an issue.
No.
no. But think about it this way: this is the most compelling thing they've done, where we are talking this passionately
passionately
about a
about it,
Marvel
yeah.
comic
It's-
book in how long?
It's
Yeah.
one. It's not the map. It's one thing. It is that page of Life 4 with the Silver Age X-Men, the Byrne X-Men, the Bendis X-Men, and Days of Future Past.
And this is,
I don't understand if
but-
that wasn't there. If every other, because all these other lifetimes
But
are
that's her
fucking
second lifetime with Charles.
sure.
It's like
Okay.
they had the first one.
Where are you looking? Where does it say Silver Age X-Men?
This page right here. I'm showing Scott. Scott, look up this page right here.
Oh, yeah.
right
there.
So, if that page wasn't there, I probably wouldn't have these questions because all these other lifetimes are really different. That one is the Marvel universe, so I don't understand.
Yeah, that's where you get the
so
the
if that
Claremont
never
and-
happened,
If this page didn't exist, I probably wouldn't have any of these questions. This is what's throwing me off. I don't understand that page with those versions of the X-Men because that is this
the other-
616 X-Men.
The other reason is the timelines that we see
Or
in the
is
back. The timelines that we see in the back have. There are things I think that overlap in the timelines, but they don't show those overlaps on the diagram that they had. Because if you look at the early part,
the way they make it seem from that, and I agreed with the way it looks and everything, that they show that timeline playing out very similarly to the traditional X-Men timeline.
Right.
But in what she says and in what the timeline, she was there for all of it. She was with Xavier at the school. She co-founded it. She stood with the X-Men during all that time, just like Xavier did.
So these end scenes with her and Xavier, is that today? Is that the past? Because if it's the past, it's not the foundation of the school because the school was just the original 5. So that's a huge retcon if there's only 1,000 mutants running around the school when it started. That's like more of the movies than the comics.
The way assuming you're on the page, I think you are. The way I interpret that is
The most important page in X-Men history.
In the current timeline, in Life 10, she went to Xavier a long time ago and gave him a glimpse of her plan.
Right, but my question is, this is not current day, right?
No.
This is in the
This
past.
is when she was 17.
So-
if you look at the back timeline, it talks about
So
her
they're
meeting Xavier.
they're retconning the school to be a much bigger thing than just the original X-Men. They're retconning because in that first page there's a shitload of mutants running around when they show this. They're at it's like a festival. There's like dozens or hundreds of mutants in House of X #1 in the first issue. Powers of 10. Powers of 10 #1 has them in the school, and that's the direct continuation. Or these back pages are a direct continuation from those pages. So that
Is Powers of 10 and House of X the same Moira timeline?
It's because if you look,
because if that one shows
that it keeps going.
It's she dies. It's the Sentinel attack coma.
9 and 10 are the two that keep going, right? They're the only two that go into the future.
That's
so
weird.
It's the
weird is that they can ever time travel to a point past Moira's death.
But Moira dies at 74 years old in the first timeline.
Right.
So my assumption was
normal human death. Yeah.
That she couldn't age past that point.
Well, those final two timelines have it going on in infinite, right? It just goes off the page. So well past her death time.
Well, you also don't know she's dead.
Yeah. She on timeline 9, year 42, the Apocalypse War begins. She joins with Apocalypse for probably eternity, right? But she dies at some point, but just well past the timeline here,
right? Unless Apocalypse makes her a
Powers of 10, which is supposed to be, I'm assuming the future of the current timeline is 100 years in the future, right? I mean, I believe that's what it says in Powers of 10. So it makes. I want to go back and reread Powers now that I've read this because it hopefully will make a little more sense. Powers, I really was like, I don't.
You don't get it.
I don't get it. I don't get what they're doing with this stuff. Like the current day stuff, I understand, but the future stuff, I'm like, all right. Well, I don't know who these characters are or what's happening.
I found it interesting, but that's also where we were having that discussion last time I was on about how linked are these two books. Because, yes, you had a conversation, but the story that they're telling in one book, especially with this, seems very different than the story they're telling in the other book.
Yeah, so
can the...
Ask it.
Nobody even knows the answer, though,
right.
So I'll just ask it to the universe. Sure. Can the timeline continue on if Moira is dead? Or does the world just reset?
I don't know.
No, Moira died. Yeah, I would assume that it goes...
Like, is she alive in Powers of...
When she dies the last time?
When she dies the last time, it will continue. But right now...
How do we know this, though?
But the thing is she has to die as a child, which means she basically gets wiped out from X-Men continuity in the last reset.
Or
so
10-ish times.
Is Powers of 10 the final timeline?
I would assume so. Okay,
because it's a 10.
Right, 10 means a lot more now that we have this thing with Moira in her 10th life. So yeah, it's probably the end of the timeline, right? Yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, that's not a mutant power.
Yeah.
What I understand we're stretching the definition of mutant with the X-Men anyway.
God.
But what you are describing with Moira is not a mutant power.
Right,
it's like a
celestial power.
Yes.
Maybe she has the Phoenix Force in her.
I'm just too busy going, does that mean when...
Maybe that's where the Phoenix egg is.
It's going to be really, really, really...
in a long time, have we?
Not that long, realistically.
But speaking of that, the Phoenix is not on those pages that you're interested in on that page. Marvel Girl is in the original 5.
Yeah.
But Phoenix is not with the all new, all difference.
What's the fire?
But the Lost Years means is
that's Phoenix. That's Phoenix
the
Cyclops.
AVX stuff.
That.
That's all.
Phoenix,
That's
I'm
Phoenix
looking at the.
The other guys.
The real team.
The real team,
not Phoenix Cyclops.
That would be incredibly messed up. I'm just with Powers of 10, and if this is the last timeline, and if the idea of the timeline is after she dies in this timeline, she's going to die as a child and not continue on, that would be a really weird way to retcon all of X-Men just by having Moira never encountering Xavier, never
like
being
in the 11th timeline, they just kill her.
Yeah. Because so if you take her out of the equation, she's never done the Institute.
There's no resetting.
She never
wins the Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah. She never does all this research.
Well, she never is involved in finding a cure for the legacy. Like, that would be a messed up way to completely
that's when she dies, right? Curing the legacy virus?
In one of them, yeah.
Yeah. Again, my bigger confusion comes from that fourth time, but also that idea that New X-Men was 2 years ago and House of X is today. You're like, whoa, what happened to all that time in the middle there? That you just truncated.
Not to mention that we're sitting here, and I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I was reading, and I'm like, what happens in 6? Like,
Well-
what seriously happens in 6? Like, they completely
into it.
omit it.
Honestly, like, one of the things that I love about this book is I kind of want more details on every single life. Like if they spun off, like the lives of Kitty Pryde.
I never noticed that
not
6
Kitty,
was not in there.
Never noticed that.
the
that was
lives
the
of
blatant
Moira.
First thing I saw was
Basically,
where's 6?
if they spun off a Lives of Moira McTaggart miniseries, I would totally read that.
Don't
Maybe-
don't give me any.
don't give me
any
more.
Maybe Life 6.
That's
Maybe
going to be books 7 and 8.
maybe Life 6 is the other book.
Well, it is possible that House of X, Powers of 10 are two totally different lives, right? So
Yeah.
Which would be, I think that's just it's just so cool.
She seems to die by fire a lot.
Yeah. Well, when we get answers to these, I'm sure we'll have more talks.
I love the kills Trask, kills Trask, kills Trask, kills Trask.
When you look at the reading order, there are 3 issues that are marked red: House of X2, House of X5, and Powers of X, Powers of 10, number 6. So I would assume those are important issues based on.
Well, they better all
this.
be important
Well,
issues. At
Big
this price tag.
This is a bigger issue than the other 2 issues, right? So I would think that those are going to be the issues you probably want to focus on. So maybe we'll touch base once those issues ship in a couple weeks, and we know more.
Well, what's funny is they knew going into it that 2 is important, and they didn't overprint it.
Of course.
Assholes.
Of course. But in the meantime, we are going to wrap up. I feel like we lived 10 lives alone just recording this podcast.
We didn't do an Endgame podcast, so we're okay.
That's all right. That's all right. Kevin, you wanted to pimp
Your
this
random
Joker?
pick.
I
this Joker book?
already pimped it.
Oh, you said
Kind
end of the episode? Okay,
yeah, but then
well-
we kind of got into it with the Bronze Age.
Oh,
question.
okay.
You rambled
Yeah.
through it.
Well, that's good. Go buy that Joker hardcover. It's really nice. We have to thank some good friends. We have to thank Joe Duff, Sam Shea, Andrew Nelson Mendez over at Recovery of an Anime Junkie podcast, Ryan Marling, and, of course, Craig Anderson over at CraigPanderson.com. Thank you all for your amazing donations over at Patreon. And, man, I have to pull something real quick here because I forgot
Craig
to
P.
add in.
Anderson, my random pick is Morrison's Doom Patrol run. So,
And our
Brock just pulled that for me. Thanks, Brock.
Yeah,
Our-
pulled an entire run.
All of them.
You got the cherry pick. Which one's you got?
Big stack. That's my random pick.
I have to pull up
Charlie's random pick is whatever DC title he hates.
but our final
Character, I don't know.
high tier backer for the month, Pete Taylor. He has a comic book. We talked about this last week, 7 Sagas of Silverbeard. It's on Kickstarter right now. Since last week when we talked, they hit their first stretch goals. The book will
Awesome.
be 44 pages
Nice.
of oversized comic magazine gorilla goodness. Jonathan Edwards and Warwick Johnson Cadwell, who both did work on the Tank Girl comic, is going to be doing some gallery work. So they're working on doing some mock-up, there's some toys. If they kind of look like what do they call them? The
Prototypes?
no, sorry, the like the paper craft toys. So that's their next stretch goal. So if you see that, just go look up 7 Sagas of Silverbeard on Kickstarter right now, and you'll.
What is their total goal?
I don't have it up right now. I don't know, but they hit it. They hit their goal. They're on stretch goals now.
Oh, okay,
Yep,
cool.
so that's good.
That's good.
And please go to comicconspiracypodcast.com, geekbox.net, and Apple Podcasts for all our previous episodes. You can review us. That always helps. If you're on YouTube, you can go to youtube.com/comicsconspiracy, and you can listen to our episodes on there. No video, just pure audio bliss. Patreon.com/comic-conspiracy. If you want to kick us in a couple bucks a month, you can go over there and give some money. Read our backer names, high-tier backers, get a mention in every podcast. And I'm trying to post a little bit more over there. Posting a Q&A
bonus
thread.
content?
Bonus content, Q&A thread. We're trying to get a little bit more on there. I've been slacking on Patreon. I got to get that going more. Give you guys that are giving us a little bit of extra cash a reason to keep doing it.
Listening to our lovely voices
maybe-
every week is not enough.
Well, that is good too.
Maybe a Bryce Larson
House of X
Powers
briefly.
of X briefly.
Is there enough room in the servers to handle the size of that MP3 file? Okay. Comicspiracy.biz is where you can go to purchase comic books from us. Of course, Comic Hub as well. You can set up an account through customer.comichub.com, and you can get comics delivered to your doorstep or pick them up here at the shop. It's a great little system. There's an update to the app. Fixed a few things. Broke something. It's always the way it works.
Yeah, broke the best thing that was...
Our RIP that next week tab. Just not showing you the books you ordered, but don't worry, they're going to get that fixed. Of course, conspiratobrock.com. Conspiratobrock.com. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Brock's
that's
blog, video pull list, unboxing videos. I know maybe there'll be a little hiatus. Brock just moved, so it's getting
my videos are up for
like
the pull
unboxing
list.
and stuff. And
unboxings, I've recorded one. I need to have time to sit down and process it, but
getting close.
Getting close. So but with the move, I'm the background's not the same, and I got stuff everywhere. So
it's good. You get it done. Wanders in the Fourth Dimension podcast. That's Charlie's Doctor Who podcast, and of course Etsy.com/shop/Leanne Hill Art. That is my wife Leanne's Etsy store. You can check her stuff out there. And if you are going to be in the Anaheim area next weekend for the D23 convention, Leanne will have a piece of artwork on display at the Haunted Mansion's 50th anniversary art contest. She was a finalist, so we're going to be there on Sunday to check out her art, to get some photos, and go to a few of the panels. I know we're going to go to the Parks panel. I can't wait for that.
Nice.
If you're on Twitter, you can follow all of us. Ryan Higgins, Ryan, that is myself. Brock is Brock Sager. Toby is Toby XI. Where the hell did Toby go? He leave?
He just disappeared.
Is he in the back?
No, he left an hour ago.
What the? I didn't even hear him leave. Did he leave his shit on the counter? Is that his figure right there? Son of a bitch.
I like that it's piled next to the cash register as if somebody's checking out.
Insanity and chaos. That is. I bet he didn't hub that shit either. I guarantee you he didn't hub that shit. Insanity and Chaos, that is Charlie. C.S. Shea, that is Scott. That Kevin Sharp is that Kevin Sharp that's over there. And the store is Comics Con Store. Please check out Geekbox, Comedy Button, Manga Machinations, and Infinite Binge on YouTube. Some other stuff our friends do. It always helps if you go check out their lovely content as well. This is a nice, long, juicy 2-hour episode. We got a lot of good content here. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll be back next week. See you later.
What the fuck are you doing, dude? No, stop.
I had a couple of things I was going to say, but it all blended into one word, and I said I'm going to say see you soon.
Stop.